John chapter 2 conclusion. The original conclusion we did on Penang Hill at night time, and I've been searching for that specific video clip the whole of yesterday after arriving back in Bangkok. On my computer I couldn't find it, so well, here I'm doing it, redoing it. If I find the other one, then I'll put both up. Right, because there's always something more to learn anyhow. Okay, so the scene behind me is this again Pattaya, and we've done a number of recordings here in Pattaya on Genesis, none on John, so this is now on John chapter 2. And yeah, I think you know what Pattaya is famous for, and if you look at in this direction and all these buildings, the famous, rather would say the infamous walking street is just over there, right? Famous beach over there, or at least nice beaches, kind of, right? And so yes, lots of houses, lots of people, lots of different kinds of bars and nightclubs, and yeah, I don't want to go into all the gory detail here. It's not good. I remember years ago I was in South Africa, there in Somerset West, sitting in the car and looking down on the Somerset West on one side, Strand on the other side. There's so many people living there and lights everywhere, like here. And I was just thinking, you know, I've seen so much in my life. Stories, not just stories, but seeing, especially in that stage, children suffer under the hands of grown-ups in the worst possible ways. And it hurt me a lot. I mean, you can't see all of this. It's not just stories that somebody tells you. This is what I experienced. And as I was sitting there, I was just thinking, I know only a few of these stories, but man, they hurt. Think of God who knows all these stories, who knows in each of these flats or rooms or whatever here behind exactly what is going on. Exactly what is going on. Oh, maybe somebody is, for sure, somebody's now lying to someone else there. Somebody's cheating someone else. Somebody is gossiping about somebody else. There might be somebody raping someone else at the moment, right? I hope nobody's murdering somebody. And in general, Thailand is really kind of safe in that sense. But, you know, all of these things are happening now, and I luckily don't know it. I can't see it. I try to look past it and see the mountains on this side and the sea on that side, kind of. But God sees it all. Right? God sees it all. He knows it all. He knows it all. Like in this chapter, Jesus, so he turned water into wine as the Messiah, heralding in this time of abundance. Wine was associated with joy. Yes, today churches call drinking alcohol a sin and etc. And if it's done in too much of it, yes, sure, it's a sin. The too part, my mom always liked to say, too much of everything is never a good thing. And yeah, I was just thinking, and maybe, I don't know, too much reading the Bible, I don't think that's a bad thing, but anyhow, none of us do that, right, do we? Anyhow, so too much. So yeah, that sure is a sin. But in the Bible times, drinking alcohol, doesn't matter how the percentage was, right? People could get drunk of it, Acts 2. And not only Acts, okay? It was seen as a time of peace, a time of abundance, brought joy, right? That was what drinking alcohol kind of signified. Yes, there were those other things as well. People got drunk those days. But they didn't just threw alcohol out because of the few who did. Okay? And so Jesus heralding then this time of joy that came with this amount, overabundance of wine, bringing joy, happiness to people. Okay? And but at the same time, throwing people out of the temple because they turned the house of God into a bazaar, into a place for buying and selling. So the two, what you would think, okay, when the Messiah comes and He is giving us this time of joy over abundance, all ought to be great now, right? Now we will be free, now we will have peace, now we'll have all these things. But then immediately He goes to Jerusalem and kick out the people out of the temple. Because those things were happening. He had to again do that. At the end, just before His death, kick them out again. The first time didn't help. Maybe He did a few times, we don't know. I mean, more than two, I mean, that is. He might have. Okay? We know of 2 times because that's written down. It didn't help. They still crucified Him. So you see from the beginning this whole fight between not yin, yang, whatever, the good in the man and the bad in the man. I mean, there's a little bit of truth to it, understandably, right? But the problem with the little bit of truth is that you can only find the yin yang actually in a Christian. In a Buddhist, you can't find it. There's no good in a Buddhist or any other religious person. There's no good in anybody. Okay, before the Buddhists and whoever jumps on me and say, I'm evil here or something like that. There's no good in anybody. We see that clearly being taught in the whole Bible. There's no good but God. That's that. That's that. So, in a Christian, there is good because he is in Christ. But in a Christian, there is still sin, the old man that he needs to fight against. Okay, so that the South Korean flag, that is only makes actually sense and that faith actually only makes sense for a believer, for a Christian, where there is a fight between the good and the bad, because the good in him is from the Messiah, and the bad in him is from his old person. So he immediately draws the line. You would expect one thing, like from the previous chapter, the light, but they loved the darkness. They rejected him. His own rejected him. In chapter 3, we will see, I mean, although I have already now finished the teaching on chapter 3, they did not want to come to the light because these are evil. And that's the truth. The fact of humanity, of all humanity. And so there's, like throughout the book, always this line that those who believe and accept and understand and know, and those who reject, who ought to know, who actually do know what willingly reject, like we see in this chapter. The happiness of the one making the people believe, the disciples believe, and then the hatred that comes after he kicked the people, the sellers, the buyers and sellers out of the temple. I don't want to make too big a whole point now of the church these days, be it the Roman Catholics or the Orthodox or Protestant churches. So many of them are run like businesses, like plain run like businesses. But it always amazes me, and I'm digressing a little bit here now, it always amazes me how a church can take from the world, from the business world, the model of running a church proficient, efficient, and all those things. Especially this is not true of Protestant churches. But man, then they have a whole building. A big building. They spend tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions, depending on a building. Which is used for 3, 4, 5 hours a week. And carpets inside that building, which is used for that amount of time, but they don't have time to give to mission work. Because no, man, we don't have money. No business works like that. So why do you take from the business world this model of efficiency, cutting, etc., etc.? But man, when it comes to this, you are totally unbusinesslike. Maybe a few denominations can get together. They can use a building different days in the week or whatever. I mean, you can save so much money. But anyhow, that's digressing. That's not the point. It's in a certain sense connected to this, because here we see Jesus heralding in this the time of abundance, joy, while at the same time, what is the religious world doing? They are just using the church as a way of making money, of building power, exactly like it is today. Exactly like it is today. It's not new. It's not new. Right? I remember sitting in a church where a congregation member, seemingly this, he didn't know me, and he told me that their church spends so much money on missions. And I asked then the missions director there, and he said, no, they don't give any money to missions overseas. But they spend so much on themselves. Yeah, right. That's kind of still the norm. Still totally the norm. Sad, but true.